Mr. Chairman, thank you so very much, and thank you for your great leadership and ongoing support and your history of righting the wrongs of racial injustice in this nation. Thank you very much, Mr. Nadler, for your persistent support of this legislation, beginning with our beloved late colleague, John Conyers, and to my colleagues on the committee, on the Constitution Subcommittee. I am appreciative of your graciousness as well in joining us in this hearing. Thank you very much to our ranking member, both Mr. Johnson and the gentleman from Colorado, I believe. Thank him very much for his statement today. And this is what this hearing is about, to be able to speak to the nation and for the nation to continue its overwhelming support that it has given to H.R. 40. And that has been one of the comforting aspects of continuing to carry this legislation. I'm proud to speak in support of H.R. 40 and the legislation that I introduced that establishes a commission to study and develop reparation proposals for African Americans. It is an active commission. It is to study, but it is also to develop reparation proposals. Now, we come from a community, a race of people that have been known as overcomers. We shall overcome, and we have overcome. Mr. Owens has eloquently spoken of the overcomers. We're successful. We believe in determination, and we believe in overcoming the many bad balls that we have been thrown. We've caught them and we've kept on going. That is not the point of H.R. 40, the commission to study and develop reparation proposals for African Americans. For hidden in the corners of this nation are those of African American heritage, the descendants of enslaved Africans who have felt the sting of disparities. They continue to feel that sting. Now more than ever, the facts and circumstances facing our nation demonstrate the importance of H.R. 40 and the necessity of placing our nation on the path to reparative justice. That is what H.R. 40 is about. This commission will probe into the facts of the long-standing impact of disparities that slavery brought about in this country. We still experience them today. When this committee last met to discuss this legislation, we required 3 overflow rooms to contain the scholarship and the passion displayed in support of this bill. I'm very pleased to say that we have had over 170 co-sponsors, close to that now, and those members of Congress, I want to thank them personally because there are a wide perspective and spectrum of political views, from progressives to moderates to conservatives, coming from all regions of the United States, all racial backgrounds. That is America. That is what repair is all about, reparative justice. Since that time, we have seen a pandemic sweep the country, taking more than 500,000 souls in its wake and devastating the African American community. According to the latest estimates from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control, Black people get COVID-19 at a rate nearly 1.5 times higher than that of white people. They're hospitalized at a rate nearly 4 times higher than them and are 3 times as likely to die from the disease. We've seen it in our cities and our rural communities across America. Interestingly enough, a recent peer-reviewed study from Harvard Medical School suggests that reparations for African Americans could have cut COVID-19 transmission and infection rates both among Blacks and the population at large. Their analysis, based on Louisiana data, determined that if reparation proposals had been implemented before the COVID-19 pandemic, narrowing the wealth gap, COVID-19 transmission rates in the state's overall population could have been reduced by anywhere from 31 to 68%. Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to submit into the record the Harvard article.
Without objection, it shall be
Since our last hearing, we have also seen hundreds of thousands. Since our last hearing, we have also seen hundreds of thousands peacefully take to the streets in support of Black lives and accountability for law enforcement. Many of these protesters carried signs in support of H.R. 40 and made the important link between policing reform and the movement for reparative justice. Tragically, we have also witnessed insurrectionists attack this institution, brandishing symbols of division and intolerance that echo back to the darkest periods of our nation's history. Clearly, We require reckoning to restore national balance and unity. The government sanctioned slavery, and that is what we need: a reckoning, a healing, reparative justice. We need to bring our nation together. And this commission is really, it is no figment of your imagination. It is a commission that will be appointed by the majority leader of the United States Senate, the Speaker of the House, the President of the United States, a commission that will be funded for fact-based hearings, the opportunity for all people to be heard, and then, yes, a reparative healing of proposals to deal with the questions of the starkness of the life of African Americans in this country. Like our last hearing, the minority has selected 2 African American witnesses to speak against H.R. 40. That is their privilege. But we know that justice, facts, and that life that was led and continues to be led by African Americans is on our side. Their selection, however, fails to undermine the overwhelming support for this legislation and merely demonstrates the multiplicity of views within the Black community. I'd ask unanimous consent to submit into the record a message from the CARICON Reparations Commission on the occasion of the United States congressional hearings on H.R. 40, Bill 17, February 17, 2021. Mr. Chairman, I ask for that submission.
Without the dissent, it's so granted. So entered.
Thank you. I also ask Mr. Chairman thank you. And I also ask Mr. Chairman for, as I conclude, for the submission of the Why We Can't Wait letter, because the question that Dr. King asked is relevant today. Why we can't wait. It has been signed, Mr. Chairman, by more than 300 organizations from varying backgrounds, racial backgrounds, including Japanese Americans, rabbinical associations, individuals from the Diocese of the Episcopalians, the NAACP, Urban League, and many others. As I conclude, I ask my colleagues to recognize that what we speak of today is based on the continuing impact of the brutality of slavery. And as I close, I need you to take a look at what I offer to put into the record. This was our life, the back of a beaten slave. This was our life into the 20th century, hangings of African Americans, men and women. This was our life. This was our life when we were in public display, brutalized. Our life was also the Tulsa riots, where 300 African Americans were buried in an unmarked grave. And so, Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent for those pictures of lynching that continued into the 20th century, and offer to say that I conclude my remarks by saying this is a potent and powerful hearing today, and I'm glad that we're responding to the majority of Americans who see the value in H.R. 40, the Commission to Study and Develop Reparation Proposals. I yield back, Mr. Chairman. I ask unanimous consent that the pictures be submitted into the record. Pardon me?
Thank you, Ms. Jackson Lee. Those will be entered into the record without objection.
Thank you. I yield back, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you,
I look
Ms.
forward to
Jackson
hearing
Lee.
from witnesses.
Thank you.